What are the economics of independent living? Jim Downey,
The
Washington,
economics of
D.C.
independent living, and I guess there's several ways you can look at it. One is the investment. The public investment in independent living is minute. The Vocational Rehabilitation Act authorizes the actual federal funding of independent living centers in the states, but it is a small fraction of the overall expenditures for people with disabilities. When you take into account the cost of nursing home placement versus that of living independently, we know for a fact that the people with the most significant disabilities, like people with significant cognitive disabilities and physical disabilities themselves, that require 24/7 care, that we can serve 2 for 1. We can serve 2 people living independently in the community for the price of 1 living in an institution. We also know that independent living has benefit throughout all aspects of public sector programs, because when a person is living independently, they're more likely to go to work, more likely to become employed, they're more likely to participate in society, more likely to go down to the corner grocery store and buy a soda on a whim or to go to a movie, or to go on vacation, or do all these things that you can't do in nursing homes. So there's economic benefit. There's a whole huge number of people with disabilities out there that have dollars to spend. There are people with disabilities that are working today, working very gainful employment, that have money to spend. Yet there are many more that are on public assistance that want to work and want to live independently, that can't, because there's not enough money in the system. There's not enough money in that aspect of the system. Generally, the dollars are still being driven by the needs of the bureaucracy and not the needs of the individual. Too often decisions are based on for economic reasons rather than on humanitarian or for other reasons, or for individual benefit. I mean, it's a very short-sighted public policy we have, but there are reasons for that. And I think this is one of the things that Ed understood too, is that you can say this is a truly unjust system. Ed, you can say that it's out of balance. You can say that it's unfair. But Ed would tell you that the other side has their arguments, and their arguments are not invalid. You got to listen to what people are saying also. Public sector programs for people with disabilities are very expensive. They are, in some cases, extremely expensive. Now, is that the person with the disability's fault? No. We have a system of providers, we have a system of professionals, we have a system of researchers that make their livings off of people with disabilities. We have unions, we have union members that make their livings off of people with disabilities. All of these things are factors in this. Now, no, we can't say that anybody in particular is at fault, but what we can say is that you have to look at the whole picture. Realize that yes, there are better ways that we can spend our money. Yes, there are better ways that we in the public sector, bureaucrats, there are ways that we can do our business better, that bureaucrats can do their business better, that provide greater opportunity to people with disabilities. Change is what it takes, though. And I think that that's, of course, it's what Ed's life was all about. Status quo was never good enough ain't good enough. It was, we can make it better. Economics of independent living, I mean, I can go into some great detail because this is one of the areas that I do work in. IL centers are battling every other federal program at this point for funding. You can look at the shifting of the, okay, so I'm trying to do this politically correctly here. The shifting of the burden of the cost of public sector programs from the federal government to the state government as a result of some of the economic policies of late is a huge issue to people with disabilities, and it is going to impact independent living. It is going to impact the fundamental and essential services that people with disabilities require for them to be able to live, and then for them to be able to live independently. All these services are currently at risk.